Okay, so something that a day does not go by without one of you writing to me either to my office or putting a comment on my Facebook page or my Twitter feed. A day does not go by where somebody doesn't write to me and say, why can't we just call a vote against Justin Trudeau, a non-confidence vote? Michelle, can't you just call a non-confidence vote against Justin Trudeau as a mechanism for getting him out of office? So I want to address that tonight because it's surprising how often this comes up in my office. So first of all, the Trudeau Liberals have a majority in the House of Commons. That means that they have a majority of the seats in the House of Commons. So even if a non-confidence vote, we somehow call non-confidence on the Prime Minister in the House of Commons, the Liberals would all vote against that. I can tell you right now with a great degree of certainty that the Liberal backbench is not going to vote against Justin Trudeau to trigger an election. It's just not something that's going to happen. And then, of course, some people will say, okay, well, why can't you go to the Governor General and get Justin Trudeau removed from office that way? Well, folks, the Governor General is not going to remove a sitting Prime Minister from office. So those mechanisms are not really something that we can look at to affect change in Canada. So I want to talk to you tonight about a couple of things that I think that we can do to affect change. So first of all, there is going to be very quickly a non-confidence vote called on the Prime Minister, and that will be the general election in 2019. The general election will be a time when Justin Trudeau's record is going to be held to account, and Canadians will have to vote on whether or not they think that he should receive another term as Prime Minister. And that is our opportunity to really hold him to task for, frankly, what has been a very disastrous first term in office. So what do we have to do to get ready for that point? Well, first of all, for those of you who often write me and say, well, we need to have a vote of non-confidence against Justin Trudeau, I want to challenge you tonight to be an activist. And what do I mean by that? Many of you will watch special interest groups in Canada that adhere to some sort of socialist ideology or far left of center ideology. There's many special interest groups that are very organized in Canada. They have formal structures, they have paid staff, they have all sorts of resources and tools to mobilize the public to put political pressure on politicians to vote a certain way or to put a certain policy agenda on the table. And I'm just going to call a spade a spade. A lot of us who I would label as sort of having right of center ideology, so fiscal conservatism, people who kind of go, well, maybe government isn't the be-all and end-all in terms of solutions to public policy. Maybe we should question the role of government. Those of us who believe that, frankly, I'm just going to say it, we're just not as organized as the left is in Canada. And we need to do better. Now, many of you are warriors on social media and, you're great at writing MPs. But what activists do, especially activists on the left, is that they have a cause that they advocate for and they push it relentlessly until they get results. And, I think that while a lot of us are, and I hear from a lot of you, you have a very laudable cause, and that is removing Justin Trudeau from office. We actually, as conservatives and as right of center people in Canada, we also need to project a vision to Canadians about how the policies and the causes that we want to advocate for are going to make a better and brighter Canada. I've actually watched the tactics of the left over the last 10 years, and I've tried to adopt some of them in my platform as a member of Parliament, some of those tactics. I look at, for example, when I found out that the UN had referred virtually zero, I think it was zero, Yazidi genocide victims to Canada for resettlement. And the government of Canada under Justin Trudeau brought exactly zero Yazidi genocide victims in during the Syrian resettlement initiative. I said, you know what, I'm going to be persistent and relentless, and I'm going to mobilize people, and we're going to make sure that we put pressure on the Trudeau Liberals to change this policy. And they did. They had to capitulate. Many of you helped me with that initiative. But even though I have a platform as a member of Parliament, times have changed. All of you have a platform too. You have free speech in Canada, and you have social media. You have tools like petitions. And don't tell me that petitions don't work, because some of the petitions that you've helped me sign, I think about the one last year on the changes to standing orders. We forced the government to roll their plans back on that. The government's plan to remove female genital mutilation from the citizenship guide. Over 50,000 of you signed a petition for that. That also changed the government's mind. We have tools that we can come up with concrete policy causes and then have them advanced, and that's what we need to do. You know, it's more than just you. I know that our party's working hard right now, going into the planning cycle for the 2019 election, to have those concrete policy items. But it's also helpful for us when the public advocates for these positions, right? So it's not just these left of center or these socialist, special interest groups that are setting the policy agenda in Canada. And so I want to challenge you. I really want you to think about how you can be an activist and for what cause, and how you're promoting that. And that is something that we can do to affect change. That's more than just sort of this pie in the sky thing where we're going to call a non-confidence vote on Justin Trudeau and see him somehow removed from office. The next thing that you can do is get politically active. The left in this country is highly politically active. And by that, I don't just mean tweeting and being on Facebook. I mean they go out and they influence elections. The only way that we can get more people in the House of Commons voting for common sense, fiscally conservative, smart, principled policy is if we elect those people. And that means going out and doing the non-glamorous part of politics, but the important stuff that grounds you, like door knocking, like, raising funds, like going to policy meetings within political parties. Those are the things that actually elect people. And it might mean that you have to run yourself. I mean, that's why I decided to run. I wanted to affect change. I remember a Liberal MP coming to my high school when I was 17 years old, and he was actually my inspiration for getting into politics. My family was not political. I just remember thinking at my young 17-year-old self, this person cannot be, I cannot believe the arrogance coming out of this person, and I need to fight this. And, I've spent better part of 2 decades doing that now. So, this is something that I need you to do, because the time between today and the 2019 election is very short. So, for example, I'm going to have to raise about $100,000 in the next year to make sure that my re-election campaign is successful. And I always ask you to donate. Please donate to my campaign, and I'll make sure I put a link up on this page afterwards. But that's the sort of thing that we need to do to affect change for the 2019 election, so that we're changing the hearts and minds of Canadians. So, I want to challenge you, the next time before you put a comment on my page, we need a vote of non-confidence, we need you to actually do something. I look at what the left has done in Canada, and you've got to give them credit for being organized. They have spent the better part of a generation organizing against the energy sector, organizing against pipelines, organizing against principled foreign policy, organizing against tax cuts, changing the meaning of the word fairness so that it's some sort of Orwellian term. The left has been very, very organized on this, and sometimes I feel like we just don't have that capacity, but I know that we do, and that's in you. So I'm just challenging you to a partnership tonight. I'm challenging you to help me get organized and advance a cause that you feel passionately about. I've got to give credit to people. For example, I'm thinking of a group here in Calgary, Oil Sands Action. That was started by a real estate agent who was just really fed up with the left completely denigrating the energy sector and the workers in it. And they're out there almost every day pushing the facts on the energy sector and talking about sustainable development in terms that make sense to people. And I feel like their work is making a difference. That's what I think we can do together. This is not going to happen overnight. This is going to take many years, but it doesn't start until we get together and get organized. And I know so many of you that write to my office and so many of you that come out and help me and volunteer and donate to my campaign, your heart's in the right spot. So that's what we need to do. So the real non-confidence vote is going to happen in 2019. We have to start getting ready for that. And moreover, we have to make sure that we're looking to where the football's going over the next 10, 15, 20 years, coming up with smart, passionate causes that we're advocating for, and that, that we're being strong, principled conservatives about. So, a little bit of a different flavor tonight, but that non-confidence vote. Choose a cause, get active, get politically active, and make sure that your friends are too. Make them have uncomfortable conversations about Justin Trudeau and share this video. Working hard for you as always in Calgary. Have a great evening.